I think we should refer to my hair as full moon hair. You know, I really have tried, and you won't believe me, but I did comb my hair before I started to walk to the park. And when I came here, I ran a comb through it again. But, you know, it's COVID hair, it's full moon hair, and there's really nothing I can do to make it better. So you guys are going to have to bear with me on this. Well, this is an exciting full moon in some respects, although the respects are bittersweet. It is a full moon that on its way to becoming a full moon opposes Venus, but most importantly trines the planet Uranus. So it is a full moon of liberation, and it is a full moon of clearing. Now, we've talked a fair amount in the first couple of months of this year around the theme of endings and new beginnings, and ending cycles and beginning cycles. And this lunation, we're blessed to have a full moon in Virgo today, or rather tomorrow, technically, Pacific time, and a new moon in Pisces 2 weeks from now, that are relatively free of encumbrances or challenging aspects on a certain level, relatively free. These are also the first lunations that are occurring when the newer energies are really here and are starting to move us forward. All the planets are direct. Those of you who consult with me and others who watch these videos or other videos will know how rare that is, to have every single planet or body or entity direct, with the exception of the nodes, which are never direct. So Mercury is now direct, the planets are Aquarius, the planets are moving into Pi, blah, blah, blah. However, this particular full moon, which is one of clearance and is absolutely, and you know, full moons are typically three things: an emotional meltdown or an emotional culmination or something emotional coming to the surface. Number two, things being pushed to the limelight in some way, someone getting an offer, something get exposed. The limelight can go either way. It's either that something gets uncovered, or it is that someone or something gets pushed into the limelight somehow, literally a spotlight on someone or something. And the third, of course, is culminations or completions. And the culminations can always have some sort of an emotional impact, or could be a culmination, culminations of all sorts. You know, with eclipses we talk about people passing away and the culmination or the end of a life sometimes, or the end of something, endings, culminations, the wave crashing to the shore. And on its weight, and when it comes to aspects, I'm an astrologer who is always really frustrated with other astrologers who give equal importance to separating aspects as to approaching aspects. So what I mean by that is, if two planets are going to square each other at 8 degrees, I'm much more interested in what is happening as they're approaching 8 degrees, because at that point they will be square. Once they start to move past 8 degrees, in conventional Western astrology, actually even in sidereal, even in other forms of astrology, emphasis is placed on the fact that the planets are somehow still squaring each other. And I'm like, no, the square has happened. It is behind you. Now, the one exception to that is a full moon, because as the moon gets full, you know, the aspects that it forms, especially in the 48 odd hours, 72 hours before the full moon, I think are pretty important, because the moon is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and in this case today it opposes Venus, a planet of relationships, a planet of money, a planet of monetary entanglements. Venus is on its way to getting burned off by the sun. It's going to conjunct the sun in a few days, and as I said, most importantly, it trines Uranus. A trine is a harmonious, freer flowing aspect, and Uranus is a planet of liberation. Uranus is a planet that cuts ties in a way that frees you. And there's no question that there's a freeing from the past. So depending on how you look at this full moon as you approach the full moon in a few hours' time, for a few more hours, your emphasis may still well be on the past as opposed to the future, on what is ending as opposed to what it's creating an opportunity for what is beginning. That was poor grammar, but you know what I mean. And it's going to be on as far as some individuals are going to approach this with let's get on with it, things are ending, I am liberated, let's move forward, the future is here. And for some people there's going to be, and this is what I mean by the bittersweet component, something is ending. and a need to stay with that ending just a little bit longer so that it really does end. But the ending, no matter in what context you look at it in the light of this full moon, has a liberating quality to it, has a freeing quality to it. It's like a bird being let out of a cage. For some people, they might hold that cage dear. And so, it is a clearing though, guys. It is a liberation. I can't imagine that as you headed to this full moon, there hasn't been some sort of drama or some sort of culmination coming to it, because themes of resistance and future are present. And as I said, some people will focus more on the future, some people will focus more on the past. Now, the aspect at the time of this full moon that is most significant for me is the planet Mercury, which is now direct in Aquarius, getting ready to meet up with Jupiter on March the 3rd, 4th. In the sign of Aquarius, as we have been talking about for several videos, wherever that sits in your chart, from a global perspective, the idea of a social contract and what those social contracts means, as we head towards March the 4th, it's very likely that finally, again, past baggage will have cleared and we're in a place to really create a new beginning in the sign of Aquarius through the means of communication, whether it is talking to people, looking at contracts, looking at agreements, doing what we need to do to create the new, that then we're going to use to build a strong foundation and have some lessons to learn over the course of the next 2 years. You have all the time in the world to look at my past 3 or 4 videos to look at this planet, the sign of Aquarius, and where this fits in. This full moon, for all intents and purposes, has a the full moon is in the sign of Virgo. This is one more thing I wanted to mention more than anything else. This is a practical full moon, surrounded by the Sun and Venus are in Pisces. The Sun is in Pisces, not known for being a practical sign. The moon is in Virgo. Whatever this ending is, and this new beginning is, Uranus is in Taurus. Whatever this ending is, whatever this liberation is, whatever this clearing is, has a practical 3D on this planet, build something, make something concrete, urgency and reality to it. It concerns your work on some level, it concerns being here, it concerns managing and organizing things in a real way. It is not a dreamy full moon, even though the endings may have a dreamy quality to them. But it is a practical, grounded, this gives me the ability to move forward with a job, in a relationship, with my life in some way, concrete terms, in real terms, where you can feel the clearing and the liberation and the moving forward in the way you live your life on a day-to-day basis in ways that you can actually experience them, not dream them, not fantasize about them, it is a selfish full moon, and it needs to be welcomed. The liberation allows for a selfish focus, a focus on the self and what that liberation allows you to create for yourself. So I suggest that you take advantage of that Virgo energy and think in practical, real, and grounded terms around how this will help you and free up your 24 hours in a day, and how you can be productive, not only when you are of service to others, including job and chores and pets and animals and all sorts of Virgoic things there, but of service to yourself, your health, your balance, your mental balance, your physical balance, all that kind of stuff, your sleep, your diet, and the precarious way in which every day over the course of the 24-hour hamster wheel that we are on, and managing that hamster wheel is at the heart of the Virgo archetype. How you serve others, how you serve yourself, how you manage your time, how productive and organized are you, how structured are you, how rigid are you. This full moon is less about rigidity and more about practicality, and the fact that whatever is liberating you is somehow liberating you in a way that you can freeze you to serve yourself and others in a way that is less encumbered. Okay? Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is in Aquarius. It is about to conjunct Jupiter. It is about to, through the means of communication, emails, talking, contracts, it is about to create an auspicious new beginning when it conjuncts Jupiter for the 3rd time in Aquarius, in a part of your chart that is very active now for the next 2 years and for the next 20 years. And for the next 2 years, and this conjunction is especially important because it's the last of the personal planet conjunctions for a while with Jupiter, while Jupiter is in Aquarius, so that Jupiter is inaugurating something, ending a 12-year cycle, starting a 12-year cycle, can really start to gather momentum, but then make room for Saturn's presence here till March 2023 to really make us do the hard work and create something longer lasting that is needed for Uranus in Taurus to liberate and free us and kind of take us, give us sort of quantum leaps of growth wherever Uranus is in Taurus, wherever Taurus sits in your chart. Again, past few videos to look at. So Mercury is in Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, also in Aquarius, powerful as in its own sign, and Uranus. Uranus is in Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is in Pisces. Venus is opposing this full moon. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter in Aquarius, and we're back to Saturn and Uranus. So as far as the dispositing is concerned, the rulership of this full moon is Mercury. The chart is being disposited by Saturn in its own sign, Neptune in its own sign, because Venus is in Pisces, and Pisces is ruled by Neptune and Jupiter. And Jupiter, Uranus, and Venus, Jupiter, Uranus, and Venus, are forming their own little triangle here of disposition as well. So with Saturn, whatever's happening in this full moon has a very real, responsible, allowing you to fulfill your potential quality to it. With Neptune in Pisces, there's a loss associated with this that is meant to go. Remember, with Neptune and Pisces, nothing and nobody is yours. One day, you will be leaving in this planet, so whatever you're holding on to so tightly, it is not yours, it is not yours, it is not yours. Let it go. And with Venus and Jupiter and Aquarius, you know, they're dealing with this very practical transformation that is going on in the signs of Aquarius and Taurus. Now, the full moon opposes the Sun in Pisces and Venus in Pisces, and the opposition to Venus certainly denotes that whatever has ended on its way here and whatever is being created selfishly, you know, it's liberation, it's clearance, but the theme of independence is also very much part of this chart in some ways, because when it comes to Venus and relationships and finances, there's something about it in this opposition where there's a need to kind of think more about our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with our finances first, in the light of whatever's going on collectively in this realm of sharing and loss and dissolution. Dissolution as opposed to disillusion, although they can go hand in hand with the sign of Pisces. So that's one more thing I will mention, where if this resonates with someone that something is ending, has a financial or relationship quality, remember to bring with this full moon things back to yourself. For those of you who feel that the word bittersweet is a little bit too cocktail-like and you're dealing with something heavier, I'm sorry. You know, take the time to mourn or grieve or let go of what needs to be let go of. But I think it will resonate with you with the trine to Uranus, that whatever has ended and whoever you need to let go of is being liberated in their own way, just as you all are. And the attention can be brought to yourself, your independence, your money, your relationships from your perspective to create something and to move forward. And to move forward. And to move forward. This is a very yin-yang full moon where half your energy is back and half your energy is forward. But the overwhelming bent of the collective chart now is towards the new, is towards moving forward. Okay, the sign of Pisces, actually, where the Sun and Venus are and where the moon is opposing the Sun, is going to gain greater prominence as time goes on, and I'll cover that in future videos. I'm going to leave it at this. Okay, feel free to, if you find this video useful, like it, share it, subscribe to my channel, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you're notified whenever new videos are done. My contact information is in the description box below. Once I'm done processing the video, you can contact me to inquire about rates for readings, and I can also make an easy to read version of your chart that tells you which signs are in which houses and what those houses stand for. Do not send me your personal information like birth time and birth date and location until you get my rates and know you want to proceed. I will leave it at that. Thank you, folks. Try to, this is a very weird thing to say, try to mourn and celebrate end and begin as best you can. Because that's just the kind of, the current calendar year doesn't really sit well ultimately with people. Either you go to a lunar calendar year that is marked by new moons and full moons, and that feels much more natural, but there are a lot of people who feel that the new year should really start with the new moon in Aries. And we're now in Pisces season, so again it supports this idea of ending before something new can start. The only thing I will say is that something new is here and is beckoning, and the work has already started. So the last of what needs to be kind of burned off and let go of, that's kind of what this full moon is about. So there's an ending that has to be mourned, but there's also the new that is here to be celebrated. In whatever degree that is, depends on what is ending for each of you and what the quality of that bittersweet is. Is it quinine or quinine, as it is pronounced differently, or is it a Negroni or a Campari-based cocktail? Is it a pleasurable or light bittersweet, or is it heavier than that? Nevertheless, it is a clearance, and we now get to move forward. Okay?